Arthur Labinjo-Hughes was once a cheerful boy, described by his teachers as well-behaved and capable of independence. Yet within just a few months, his behavior changed dramatically amid a series of adult decisions, ignored warnings, and a protection system that failed to intervene in time.
The child who seemed so invisible, remembered by thousands and thousands.
So what chain of events quietly led to an irreversible outcome? Arthur Labinjo-Hughes was born on January 4, 2014, in the West Midlands area of England, the son of Olivia Labinjo-Halcrow and Thomas Hughes. Olivia was the daughter of Madeline Halcrow, a retired veteran nurse, and had been known as an outstanding student, bright, intelligent, and full of promise. She served in the British Army Reserve with the rank of corporal while studying economics, politics, and philosophy at the University of Nottingham, where she demonstrated strong academic ability and notable debate skills, pointing toward a future that appeared stable and rich with opportunity. However, that path gradually shifted after Olivia met Thomas Hughes through social media, and the two began a serious relationship. During her final year at university, she discovered she was pregnant and decided to pause her studies in order to move back to the West Midlands with Thomas, preparing for parenthood. Alongside the pregnancy, Olivia was also dealing with prolonged psychological difficulties and gradually developed a dependence on alcoholic beverages, causing her personal life and academic direction to spiral increasingly out of control. Although Thomas remained by her side and attempted to provide stability and support, the situation led Olivia to seek help from support groups for individuals struggling with addiction-related issues. It was there that she met Gary, a delivery driver who was also trying to reorganize his life, and their relationship slowly crossed the boundary of friendship, resulting in Olivia becoming involved in an outside relationship during her pregnancy, laying the groundwork for serious fractures that would later emerge within the family structure. Arthur Labinjo was born on January 4, 2014, in the West Midlands, England. In his early years, Arthur was described as a gentle, polite, and approachable boy who often showed care and concern for those around him. He had a cheerful, lively personality and frequently caught adults' attention with his innocent remarks and age-appropriate, witty way of thinking. Arthur was especially fond of soccer, admired players he viewed as heroes on the field, and often expressed excitement when talking about the sport, reflecting a childhood that was initially relatively normal and stable before major upheavals within his family began to unfold.
Arthur, are you going to play for England? No, why not?
The boy's smile could light up any room.
Firstly, Arthur was the happiest child. He was very, very much loved by everyone.
Arthur shared a particularly close bond with his grandmother, Madeline Halcrow, who often called him Sunshine Joy to describe his cheerful and affectionate nature during his early years, a time when Arthur's presence brought warmth and comfort to the family. However, this period of stability did not last, as Arthur was soon exposed to a tense home environment in which conflicts between his parents frequently escalated into serious incidents. When Arthur was around 1 year old, Thomas Hughes discovered that Olivia Labinjo-Halcrow was involved in an outside relationship with Gary Cunningham, causing the marriage to fracture rapidly and leading to prolonged disputes over Arthur's care. The court later ruled for shared custody, after which Olivia moved Arthur to Birmingham, where they lived with Gary in an apartment on Frensham Road in the Harborne area. Gary had a child from a previous relationship with whom he did not live and had previously been connected to a serious family-related incident. circumstances that led him to seek out support groups for individuals struggling with harmful substance use in an effort to regain control of his life. Within this setting, Arthur grew up amid ongoing instability, as Olivia and Gary's relationship fluctuated unpredictably between brief periods of calm and extended phases of tension, raising concerns among members of Olivia's family, particularly her father, Peter Halcrow. After a temporary separation caused by a loss of trust, Olivia and Gary quickly reconciled, and during this time Gary confided in his sister Katie about his own mental health crisis, suggesting that the outward appearance of stability in the household masked deeper, unresolved issues that directly shaped the environment in which Arthur was growing up. On February 23, 2019, a delivery worker entering the French U Apartments complex in Birmingham noticed serious signs of disturbance in the emergency stairwell and saw a man lying motionless there, prompting an immediate call to emergency services. The individual was identified as Gary Cunningham, and by the time police officers and medical personnel arrived, he was pronounced without signs of life at the age of 29. Police gathered information from residents of the building, including accounts that loud noises had been heard earlier in the hallway before abruptly falling silent. Though no one intervened at the time, as it was assumed to be an ordinary domestic situation. While working at the scene, officers encountered Olivia Labinjo-Hughes in a state of visible distress, and she stated that Gary had exhibited prolonged signs of psychological instability, emphasizing that his mental state had been unstable in the period leading up to the incident. The news of Gary Cunningham's death sent shockwaves through his family, although his sister Katie stated that she had partially anticipated the underlying risks. Subsequent investigation and witness statements established that prior to the incident, Gary and Olivia Labinjo-Hughes had been involved in a heated argument, and inside the apartment, authorities recovered a kitchen item believed to be connected to the events. All of this unfolded while Arthur Labinjo-Hughes, then just 5 years old, was present in the apartment, frightened and unable to fully comprehend what was happening around him. Olivia was later taken in by police for questioning and stated that she could no longer clearly recall the details of the incident, though the evidence collected suggested a different sequence of events. When Olivia was no longer able to directly care for her son, Thomas Hughes was granted full-time custody of Arthur. From that point forward, noticeable changes began to emerge in Arthur, including persistent anxiety linked to a fear of being separated from his remaining caregiver. In February 2019, Arthur started attending a new school, marking a period of adjustment to a completely unfamiliar environment. And in the weeks that followed, staff observed a clear decline in his behavior and emotional well-being, particularly an ongoing fear that his father might also leave. Just 4 months after enrolling, in July 2019, specialists determined that Arthur was experiencing an anxiety disorder, a conclusion considered consistent with the profound and successive upheavals he had endured within his family life. In November 2019, Thomas Hughes held a formal meeting with Arthur's school to express concerns about his son's fragile psychological state, which led to a referral being submitted to Child Mental Health Support Services. However, it was not until approximately 5 months later that the family attended an assessment with Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services, and following that meeting, no specific support measures were put in place. During this period, as Thomas was attempting to adjust to life as a single parent, while helping Arthur Labinjo-Hughes cope with a series of profound changes, he met Emma Tustin through a dating application. What Thomas did not know at the time was that Emma had a complex personal history and had previously been assessed by authorities as unsuitable for a childcare role. As the relationship progressed, Emma showed increasing discomfort around Arthur, and gradually came to view the child's presence as an obstacle to her relationship with Thomas. Meanwhile, Olivia Labinjo-Hughes appeared in court to face charges connected to the incident that led to the death of Gary Cunningham, during which she claimed she had been acted upon first, an argument the jury ultimately rejected. On September 10, 2019, Olivia was found criminally responsible at Birmingham Crown Court and sentenced to 18 years in custody, with the court taking into account factors related to her psychological condition and reliance on harmful substances as mitigating circumstances. At the age of 26, Olivia lost the right to directly care for her son, and full custody of Arthur was granted to Thomas, who was 29 at the time. Learning that his mother would no longer be present in his daily life had a visible impact on Arthur, a child in a formative stage of development who loved children's stories such as The Gruffalo and often displayed age-appropriate energy and curiosity. After the summer break, coinciding with the period when Thomas began a relationship with Emma Tustin, Arthur returned to school, where teachers quickly noticed concerning signs. Initially, Thomas explained to his son that his mother was serving in the military, but Arthur later heard conflicting information at school, prompting social services to advise the family to provide accurate explanations to avoid confusion. From the point at which Arthur came to understand his mother's situation, his behavior changed markedly both at school and at home, becoming more withdrawn and tense. Thomas viewed his son's behavior as inappropriate, but within the context of Arthur simultaneously losing his mother's presence and adjusting to a new adult in his father's life. The school assessed these reactions as consistent with the psychological pressure he was experiencing. By October 2019, teachers confirmed that Arthur was scarcely displaying the joy he once had, and the most significant changes in his life during this period centered on coming to terms with his mother's incarceration and his father's new relationship with Emma. During this period, Emma began to appear more frequently in the family's daily life, spending weekends and Tuesday evenings at Thomas' home, and on Wednesdays accompanying Thomas as he took Arthur Labinjo-Hughes, along with her 2 young children, to the indoor play center Wacky Warehouse. However, by October 2019, Thomas confided in his mother, Joanna Hughes, that Arthur was showing negative reactions when around Emma and was often uncooperative. These changes coincided with the period in which Arthur was having to adjust both to the absence of his mother Olivia from his everyday life and to his father's new relationship becoming increasingly apparent. On October 21st, 2019, Arthur spent time with his maternal grandmother, Madeline Halcrow.
I saw him on the 21st of October, which is my birthday, and as I say, he's very happy-go-lucky.
However, Arthur's demeanor shifted abruptly when Thomas Hughes arrived to collect him. When Thomas told him that Emma Tustin was in the car, Arthur began to cry. Arthur had been expecting to see his mother the following week, yet just 2 days later, Thomas informed Madeline Halcrow that this plan would no longer go ahead and that Arthur would also stop receiving letters from Olivia. In October 2019, Madeline continued to receive a message via WhatsApp from Thomas, in which he stated that Arthur would no longer see his mother and would not maintain any form of contact with her going forward. Around the same time, Emma Tustin's presence in Arthur's daily life increased significantly, and the school began to note concerns related to how Arthur reacted whenever Emma was mentioned, indicating a marked change in his behavior. Arthur gradually became more withdrawn and noticeably different from before. While neither the family nor the school were informed that the boy's contact with his grandmother Madeline, previously regarded as his most important emotional support, had been restricted. From that point onward, Madeline stated that she was never given a clear explanation as to why her relationship with her grandson had been completely severed.
Did you try to contact again?
I went round, I kept emailing him, WhatsApping him, saying, why? And he said, I've got my reasons.
In November 2019, Thomas continued working with Arthur's school and expressed concern that his son's behavior had changed significantly and required professional support. The school's special educational needs coordinator, Aileen Carabin, recorded that Arthur frequently displayed fears of being abandoned by his father or taken away from his life, mirroring what had already happened with his mother. During this same period, Madeline Halcrow attempted to maintain a presence in her grandson's life by leaving gifts for him on the porch in the hope that Arthur would see them. However, those gifts never reached him and were later discovered to have been wrapped up and stored inside the house. Arthur's relationship with Emma Tustin continued to be strained, and when Thomas expressed his intention to move in with Emma, members of his own family did not support the decision. On January 1st, 2020, Thomas was involved in a serious argument with his father, Chris Hughes, who voiced concerns about the way Arthur was being cared for at home. After this point, Arthur no longer saw his paternal grandparents or his close Uncle Blake, and this restriction of contact contributed to his increasing isolation, particularly as his longing for his grandmother Madeline became more pronounced. Arthur began to show persistent sadness, and in January 2020, shortly after his 6th birthday, Thomas took him to see a doctor due to growing concerns about his son's physical and emotional well-being. Arthur was noted to have a certain attachment to his soft toys, and during a medical appointment, the doctor confirmed that a child of his age seeking comfort and a sense of safety through such items was a normal developmental behavior. At school, teachers assessed Arthur as an independent pupil who did not display excessive reliance on adults. However, on March 4th, 2020, Arthur broke down in tears at school after Thomas took away a stuffed animal that Arthur was particularly attached to, prompting the school to speak with Thomas, who said he would adjust his approach to discipline at home. By March 22nd, 2020, Arthur attempted to prepare breakfast for Emma Tustin in recognition of Mother's Day, but his action was not received positively and was deemed inappropriate, despite Arthur apologizing afterward. Around the same time, Arthur expressed that he missed his mother deeply, though this longing did not receive a clear response. Just one day later, the national lockdown in England came into effect, and Arthur moved with Thomas to live full-time at Emma's home, marking a major and abrupt shift in his everyday living environment.
He talked about it having been locked down when Arthur and his father had moved in with Emma Tustin in Solihull in quite a hurried fashion. It was a relatively new relationship.
Afterward, Arthur was seen by a mental health support specialist, who noted that although some progress was evident, Arthur continued to frequently express fears of abandonment. On April 14, 2020, Arthur was involved in a conflict with the son of Emma, an incident that led to heightened tension among the adults involved, including a disagreement between Thomas Hughes and Emma when she sided with her former partner. Following this episode, Thomas took Arthur to stay with his mother, Joanna, and during this time, Joanna observed Arthur recounting to his Uncle Blake how he felt about living with Emma. While helping Arthur change his clothes, Joanna noticed concerning signs and advised Thomas to carefully reconsider before returning his son to the living environment shared with Emma. Despite this, after Thomas and Emma reconciled, Arthur was required to move back in with them, a change that proved increasingly detrimental for him. During the period, Arthur stayed temporarily with his paternal grandparents. Joanna and Chris Hughes contacted Madeline Halcrow to express their concerns that Arthur was experiencing impacts beyond ordinary domestic incidents, and drawing on her nursing experience, Madeleine concluded that these signs warranted far more serious attention. In April 2020, Madeleine Halcrow formally reported all of her concerns to social services, drawing on her many years of experience as a nurse, which she said enabled her to recognize warning signs that could not be ignored. The following day, a meeting was arranged with Jane Kavanagh, a representative of Solihull Council, to assess Arthur's safety. During this assessment, Kavanagh was shown a single mark of injury, which Thomas Hughes and Emma Tustin explained as the result of ordinary play between children, after which a standard safeguarding assessment process was carried out. This process did not raise any immediate alerts, and no unannounced home visit was conducted to further verify the child's living conditions. Prior to and alongside these steps, Arthur's uncle Blake had also independently contacted the police to report similar concerns, but no follow-up action was taken. By April 20th, 2020, Joanna Hughes again contacted Arthur's school to express worries about his condition. Yet this information did not result in additional intervention, while police responded that further action was unnecessary because social services were already involved. During the same period, Blake was informed that he could face legal consequences if he continued approaching Arthur's residence, following a complaint made by Thomas, further disrupting the family's efforts to protect the child.
The two people that have stood trial for Arthur's murder that are very manipulative, and they did manipulate agencies that were involved with them.
Although Emma was documented as experiencing difficulties related to her mental state, Thomas continued to regularly leave her alone at home with the children while he was away. In response to these developments, Emma's stepfather, John Dutton, made an anonymous call to social services in May 2020 to report that Arthur might be in an unsafe situation. However, this information did not lead to any concrete intervention measures. At the same time, the school, facing growing concerns about Arthur's condition, proposed temporary care support options in case Thomas experienced difficulties arranging childcare while working. But this offer was declined by Thomas. Throughout this period, Olivia was unable to maintain contact with her son despite repeated attempts, and due to her personal circumstances and her recent release from custody, her efforts were not regarded by the relevant parties as a factor warranting consideration in safeguarding Arthur's relationship with his mother. After lockdown restrictions began to ease in June 2020, Arthur did not return to school, and Thomas offered various explanations for the prolonged absence. About a week later, on June 15, 2020, Emma Tustin took Arthur to a hair salon, where the stylist noticed that the boy showed concerning physical signs, appearing visibly fatigued and noticeably shaky. The following day, June 16, 2020, Thomas and Emma returned to the salon to complete Emma's appointment, during which Thomas reacted aggressively toward the stylist, drawing the attention of others present. One person in the salon quietly offered Arthur a drink of water, but the boy did not dare accept it, remaining silent and appearing frightened. Later that same day, while Thomas was out attending to personal matters, Emma messaged him to report that Arthur had experienced a serious incident at home, stating that he had struck the floor forcefully. When Thomas returned, they called 999 due to the child's condition. In the body-worn camera footage recorded by police, Emma stated that Arthur had engaged in self-harm behaviors, that she had been scratched by Arthur, and that she believed what occurred was the result of attempting to control the situation during a highly tense moment. In further body-worn camera footage from attending officers, Emma repeatedly reiterated her account and appeared highly distressed as she described the sequence of events. While initial support measures failed to produce any clear improvement, Arthur was then urgently transported to hospital by emergency medical staff, where doctors recorded that he was in a state of severe physical exhaustion, with multiple signs of injury across his body and a head injury requiring close monitoring. These findings were immediately reported to police, leading to both Emma and Thomas being taken into custody for questioning on suspicion of causing harm to Arthur. After more than 7 months of intensive treatment, Arthur's grandmother Madeline was allowed to visit him in the intensive care unit. And despite the maximum efforts of medical staff, Arthur did not recover and life-sustaining measures were withdrawn on June 17, 2020. This information was also conveyed to Olivia while she was in custody. The case was subsequently brought before Coventry Crown Court, where police presented key evidence including messages and video exchanges sent via WhatsApp that illustrated Arthur's unsuitable living conditions inside the home, where he was largely confined to living on a blanket placed on the living room floor. The content of the messages also reflected Emma's difficulties in managing the household, while Thomas's responses were assessed as lacking concern. Alongside the legal proceedings, Madeline spoke publicly across multiple platforms to highlight failures in intervention by the authorities, reiterating that during the visit by social worker Jane Kavanagh on April 17, 2020, Arthur and his half-brother had been directed to present an inaccurate account of their situation, and that on the same day Arthur was taken out for recreational activities to create the impression that everything was functioning normally.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, this is a hugely emotional moment for Arthur's grandmother, who you can see there, as well as some of the balloons and tributes are being taken down by family and friends to the house here. The whole road has come to an absolute standstill.
A memorial service for Arthur Labinjo-Hughes was held in an atmosphere of quiet grief and deep emotion within the local community, drawing widespread public attention. The football club Arthur loved, Birmingham City, paid a special tribute during a match, as the entire stadium rose to honor Arthur's memory, with messages of remembrance echoing from the stands as a solemn reminder of the profound loss left in the wake of the case.
They were his heroes, and Birmingham City warmed up wearing his name. A message for the little boy who thought no one loved him. From footballers to their young fan. And in the 6th minute, crowds across the country clapped. The child who seemed so invisible, remembered by thousands and thousands.
Among the evidence presented in court, audio recordings revealed that Arthur was often heard calling out for his grandmother and his uncle Blake while alone in the living room, repeatedly voicing sentiments that reflected a sense of not being adequately cared for, yet no timely intervention followed. In December 2021, Emma Tustin was found criminally responsible and sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 29 years, while Thomas Hughes was initially given a 21-year prison sentence, which was later increased to 24 years on July 29th after being deemed insufficient. Following Arthur's passing, Olivia, who was serving her own sentence at the time, submitted an application for a review of her custodial term and expressed her wish to focus on honoring her son's life rather than the legal technicalities of the case, with the aim of helping the public understand who Arthur was as a child during his early years.
So this is from my daughter Olivia Labinjo-Hughes, Arthur's mom. Following the verdict of my son's trial, I'd like to take this opportunity to focus on the life Arthur lived and to celebrate the little beautiful boy I knew and loved deeply. The details of Arthur's case are harrowing and incomparable, but I want people to know who Arthur was, from his huge smile and personality to his gentle and caring nature. From the moment Arthur was born, he filled my life with joy. He was always smiling and had the most inquisitive little mind.
During subsequent sentencing review proceedings, Olivia had her custodial term reduced to 11 years, a decision that later generated significant public debate, including views suggesting that the ruling had been influenced by broader social factors. In 2022, during a football match in England, Birmingham City and Cardiff City jointly agreed to pause play in the 6th minute to honor the memory of Arthur, as supporters in the stands observed a solemn moment of remembrance, acknowledging his presence within the collective memory of the community. Following this tribute, Saqib Bhatti raised Arthur's case in Parliament and called for the implementation of concrete measures to strengthen child safeguarding mechanisms, with the aim of preventing similar tragedies from occurring in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. I'm going to start by congratulating all my honourable friends and colleagues who have given their maiden speeches today and in recent weeks. They truly have been of the highest order. And I give my maiden proudly representing the constituency of Meriden. Mr. Deputy Speaker, we're all the product of our journeys, so I'm grateful and privileged that I can stand here thanking those that have been part of mine. My friends, my other half, my family. Thank you. My predecessor, Dame Caroline Spellman, was a mightily impressive colleague and friend to many in the House. During her 22-year career, she held a number of important positions, like party chairperson, several shadow cabinet positions, Second Church Estates Commissioner, and Secretary of State for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs.
As part of a commemorative effort aimed at honoring Arthur's memory and raising public awareness, police officer Jess Davies of West Midlands Police announced that she would take part in a half-marathon on May 7, 2023, in remembrance of Arthur Labinjo-Hughes and to raise funds for the organization Arthur's Angels. Speaking in her role as a parent, Davies emphasized that her goal was to draw attention to cases in which children are placed in unsafe domestic environments, while also calling for stronger preventive measures to stop tragedies that could be addressed at an earlier stage. At the same time, Olivia Labinjo-Hughes remained in custody and continued her efforts to sustain acts of remembrance for her son, expressing a desire to preserve Arthur's image and memory as a child who once existed, was loved, and deserved to be protected. The story of Arthur Labinjo-Hughes does not end solely with legal verdicts, but leaves behind profound questions about responsibility, vigilance, and the role of those around vulnerable children in safeguarding their well-being. This case demonstrates that warning signs emerged very early on, yet were missed across multiple layers of systems and personal decisions, leading to an outcome that could have been prevented. It serves as a stark reminder that the safety of children should never be taken lightly, and that every expression of concern deserves to be heard and acted upon in time. Thank you for following today's story on True Crime Documentary. If you have any thoughts or feelings you would like to share in remembrance of Arthur, please leave a comment below the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to continue accompanying us in future stories. Goodbye, and see you again in the next episode.